and I also appreciate my next guest because whenever I'm near South Beach, my man always looks out for me. My man always takes care of me. He's always my right hand. I've known him for over 20 years and got a lot of respect for him. He was talking to me about P. Diddy weeks ago, and he texted me about Will Smith today. And I said, "What you doing? Come on the show." And we were supposed to be sitting right next to each other, but we got to be in separate rooms because one of my mics wasn't working and stuff. But it don't matter. My man Shabazz is in the house, and I like y'all to hear his opinions from time to time because the brother's quite smart, and I know how fearless he is and how thoughtful he is. Plus, I got love for him. He's my brother, and that's I want to talk to my brothers when I'm doing my own damn show. That's just how I roll. What's up, Shabazz? How you doing, man?
S.A., what's poppin', homie?
So talk to me and let the world know, how you felt about Will Smith and how you felt about what comments you heard me say about Will Smith this past Friday. Share your thoughts, bro.
I mean, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate you, always giving me love, grace, latitude, respecting what I do, for society and our community. And, just always showing me love. So I appreciate you having me on today. So quickly, after I just texted you this morning. So I appreciate that. Thank you again. As it relates to Will, I'm from West Philly, Will from West Philly. So it starts there. I've been familiar with Will since I was 18. And like you said, he's been a phenomenal example, for our culture, our community, and the industry alike. Back to the smack, me personally, me, I'm a straight shooter. It didn't bother me because, seeing things that I saw and how Will felt about other incidences that led up to that. I personally wouldn't have did it in front of millions, but I probably would have did it backstage. You know what I mean? The time and place for everything is what my mother taught me. That's how I felt about that. But as it relates to you, my social media platform, Shabazz the OG, moves around a lot of people looking for my opinion on social events like this one. So needless to say, I don't know how many people sent me this because they know you're my man and they like, come on, dog, your man tripping. So before I was going to say anything, I text you and your response was that you were going to revisit it. So then I said, okay, cool. I'm not going to say anything. I was going to let you revisit it and I wasn't even going to talk about it. But then we came here. My thing was, along with what you already expressed, the disdain and pushback that I was receiving, and which I agreed with, which I understood and related to, was most people were upset with you, not so much about what you were saying in terms of Will owes the Black community an apology in addition to apologizing to Chris Rock, but most people felt the way that you were so hard on him and seemingly so lenient and compassionate when your friend Dana White was in the same seat. And I understand your friend effing up. It's no secret Puff is my friend. Diddy, P. Diddy, to other people. Puff is my friend, and my friend is in a scorching hot seat right now. But I didn't abandon my friend. And even when I spoke on my friend, I spoke with grace and latitude. I can't speak the way the masses will because the masses don't have the same relationship. Just like I don't know your personal relationship with Dana White, which caused you to approach your situation with about him the way that you did. But for the masses in our community, it was like, damn, he went ham on Puff. He went ham on Will, but he looked like he was about to cry when he was talking about Dana White. And Dana White was just as wrong as Will, if not more wrong, because he hit his wife. So I believe that that's what was the bulk of the disdain was. It felt unfair to the culture. Like S.A. didn't ride against Dana White like he rode against Will. So, but when you said you was going to revisit it, I know what type of guy you are, so I wasn't surprised.
I'm going to tell you this, bro. I appreciate that. First of all, I'm going to say this about Dana White, what I've said about many, many people before. Relationship between husband and wife and all that other stuff's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that. I look at Dana White, I was the only one that did address it. There was a whole bunch of shows with black folks on the air. They never touched it. I was the one that brought it up, showed the video, everything. So, when people talk that stuff about letting them off the hook, I don't be wanting to hear that. That's number one. Number two, when we talk about Will Smith, it wasn't just a slap of Chris Rock. Now, obviously, none of us like that in the whole bit. But two cats get into it, you backstage, you get down, you get down. The fact that he walked up on a stage and slapped that man the way that he did on a public stage, an international public stage, essentially, was what I was talking about, because I was talking about the collateral damage that it would do to our community. Now, to me, a lot of times when cats are bringing stuff like that up, I often say to myself, Shabazz, okay, so what do you want? If this black man had gotten slapped by somebody else and we said nothing, what would folks have said then? If Chris Rock had retaliated and then a fight broke out in front of an international audience, what would we have said then? We would have lamented the big picture. And a lot of times when you and I talk as brothers, as friends, we talk about that big picture.
Right.
We talk about that picture, Shabazz, where it's like, we ain't even talking about the individual, certainly at the immediate moment, because Chris Rock is my friend. I'm cool as shit with him, the whole bit. That stung me. But what I'm saying is, over the course of time, I was basically bringing up, do we not see the collateral damage that this could potentially have had? You had other folks within the industry talk about they would have sued. You had other folks talking stuff about, we'll never get an opportunity to host the Oscars again, stuff like that. I'm thinking about that collateral damage. And it wasn't until Charlie Mack called me that I said, you know what? Bump all that. At the end of the day, Will has done far more good than bad. Will's soul is in the right place for the most part. And when Charlie talked to me about grace, I said, damn, that's true. Because I wasn't even thinking about the fact that, this could interfere with their premiere, because I'm thinking, I'm going to go see the movie. It's just I was confessing what I was feeling. And I certainly didn't tell anybody else not to go see it. I was just talking about what I was thinking about. But Charlie was like,
I saw it twice.
Yeah. And I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it this week.
I saw it twice.
But that's where I was going. So where are you on that front when you think about the overall impact? I know Will has done more good than bad, and I think that should be the focus. Where are you at?
1,000,000%. I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And I believe, as I'm listening to you and as I'm listening to what you say, Charlie said, as it relates to grace and latitude, right? I believe we're talking about two sets of people when we're talking about concern. You're on one side of the coin, and myself, maybe people like Charlie and other people on another side of the coin. You're talking about a corporate perspective, and then you're talking about a street perspective.
Okay.
From a corporate perspective, I understand you 1,000,000%. A corporate perspective is Will Packer is a black producer. This is his first time being able to produce the Oscars.
Any black has ever produced. No black has ever produced Oscars before.
Yeah, never been done. So this is a monumental moment. So from the side of the coin and the perch from which you sit and stand, you're saying this puts a black eye on a monumental moment. This overshadowed something that should have been spectacularly celebrated at the end of the night. Instead of talking about that, we're talking about this.
Yes.
So on that front, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I also understand the other side of the demographic that says, man, we don't care nothing about that. That was 2 years ago. We riding with Will because he's done more good than bad. We riding with Will because Will has been a iconic superhero for black culture and movies, and everybody look forward to the 4th of July to catch a new Will Smith drop. So that part of the spectrum, they don't care about that, as you just noted and saw and expressed and showed. People came out in droves. Like I said, I went to the movie premiere here in Miami, and then I went to see the movie again a couple of nights ago. So I've seen it. The movie is phenomenal. They kept step from Bad Boys 1 till now, and as you see, people still supporting him. He up to 104 million globally, 56 million in the United States, and they did a great job. So I
Right.
understand where you're coming from in terms of the overall picture,
Well,
because we don't pigeonhole. We look at
right.
everything across the board, and I just think we're talking about this group having a concern and this group
Mm-hmm.
just not being concerned.
You and I have been friends for over 20 years, so I'm going to go a place that I wouldn't go with most people, all right? We going to shove Will aside from this perspective. Will has
Okay.
done more good than bad. He deserves our support. He deserves a second chance. Whenever him and Chris Rock need to handle their business, they need to handle their business. I just wanted to see him doing an interview where he's acknowledging, damn, this is some shit that I should not have done because the black community was affected. I wasn't even thinking about just Chris Rock. But that's neither here nor there at this particular moment in time. He's a superstar. He deserves it. He's done more good than bad, and I'm good with it. I'm going to go see the movie. I don't want to discourage anybody to go see the movie. Him and Martin Lawrence are phenomenal. I'm a huge Martin Lawrence fan. And that is what it is. Here's where I'm going to get a little deep. First of all, let's understand something here. When we talk about us as a community and what you talked about corporate and you talked about the streets. Now, you and I are going back pretty much close to 25 years now. Yo, Shabazz, how many times have me and you gotten into debates because I would say to you, yo, all of us from the streets. But at the end of the day, when you talking about getting paid, where the hell are money coming from? And so for cats to act like they get to distance themselves and disassociate themselves from corporate America, well, how you getting paid? And so I'm talking about the vast majority. And so when you look at the vast majority of our society, understanding that the mechanism or the venue or the avenue that you got to go through is corporate America. For cats to be out there because they connected to the streets. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about Charlie Mack. For cats out there to be out there from the streets acting like you a sellout, you a weak ass bastard or whoever you are just because you aren't as connected to the streets as you once were or as they think that you should be, even though you dabbling and dancing in corporate America. I'm sitting there going like this. Well, how the hell what are you teaching your kids? What are you teaching? What are you hoping for your brother and sister? Ain't you hoping for them to have a good job? Ain't you hoping for them to get paper? Ain't you hoping for them to have success? And when they acquire that level of success, where the fuck you think the money's coming from? So in other words, just because you dipping in corporate America and have to deal with it, don't mean you forgot the streets. It doesn't mean you forgot where you came from. It just means even though you from it, you ain't of it. That is not a crime. And you and I have talked about that on many, many occasions. So when you explain what you just explained, I know you get it. I know Charlie Mack and others get it. What makes me wonder about is when the rest of us gonna get it. This is the game that's played. And as a result, most people, not all, but most people have to dabble in it no matter where you come from or no matter what you are of. It is what it is. How do you respond to that?
I believe it comes down to discernment, right? I believe it comes down to discernment because you're right. The corporate structure is where the checks come from, unless you're blessed or fortunate enough to, as we say, get it out the mud, grind it out, and become an independent success, right? But ultimately and overall, there's still some type of structure that you're going to have to, adhere to and listen to. But I believe it comes down to discernment. I think most people understand about the corporate structure and understand that, whether you're from the streets or not, there's still some level of, we'll just call it best behavior for lack of a better term. My brain froze.
Okay.
You still have to exude some form of good behavior even if you're from the street, and you have to understand a time and a place. So the discernment that I'm talking about is, even if you have to be in the corporate world, I think a lot of people have an issue with people that come from the street, that transition in the world of corporate. Not that they forget, but they look back and they look down versus look back and reflecting that I come from that. I understand why they look at it that way because I'm from that. Let me, if I'm going to speak on it, let me speak about it in a way that they understand that I'm not with you, but I dig you. Because I can't act the way I may have acted 20 years ago. Even me, being who I am right now, I still move like Shabazz moved.
Yes,
but now
you do.
I have this thing where on my platform, I say, it takes 3 to 30 seconds to change your life from 3 to 30 years. So I teach this on a daily basis to youngins, people in prison, my platform. It takes 3 to 30 seconds to change your life from 3 to 30 years. So even though I'm still connected to the streets and the corporate world, I still implore everyone, think before you act, because things that are done are much harder undone. So I respect the people who still carry their street perspective, but it's imperative that they understand how to move in a corporate structure. It's important. This is why I said I wouldn't have done that in front of millions, but he might have had to see me backstage. But I also understand
because you're saying that he had been doing, you're saying that Rock had been doing this for years when it came to Jada. That's what you're saying, and Will had a conversation with him. Right.
From what I understood, this wasn't cool. This was something that brewed. This something that stemmed from a prior request of, hey, take it easy on my wife. So,
but last point, I want to get to this last point because I want to stay on point in regards veering away from Will Smith and getting into that general thing, because this is the last point I wanted to make.
Okay.
You got cats in the streets and they're like, yeah, you from the streets. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. But the other thing they tell you is that they want you to reach back. Me and you have talked about this for many, many years. That's why you my man. That's why I'm yours. We talk all the time about stuff like this. And I said, Joe Shabazz, you dabbling in corporate America. Yo, for example, let's take First Take on ESPN. You see how many black contributors on the show? You see,
say that again?
You know that I said black contributors that are on the show.
Okay.
You know there's black producers behind the scenes. You know there's a black boss that oversees the show. That's all of our bosses. So my point is that when you working through the terrain, maneuvering through corporate America, you got cats that want you to still act like you in the damn streets, but in the same breath, they want you to make a difference. How the hell are you supposed to make a difference if you rolling like they want you to roll? I'm just sharing with the audience things that I've said to you in the past, which is why you've always had my back. Because it was like, yo, I know what S.A. doing. I know what he's doing behind the scenes. But every truth ain't meant for everybody to be told in the time that they want to hear it. They popping shit, but they don't know. And all they doing is talking about being real for the streets, but you can also be real dumb. You could also be real immature. You could also be real ineffective because you won't let the streets go in moments you need to let the streets go to accomplish what you said you want us to accomplish for cats that come from the streets. Remember how many times we've had that discussion over the years?
Let me say something so there's no confliction. When I say the street for me, let me be unequivocally clear. I'm not in the streets anymore.
That's right.
I'm not involved in street activity. That life is behind me. When I'm speaking about the streets, I'm talking about our black culture, our hip hop culture, the people that I'm still connected to, the people that still relate to me, that I still relate to. I've never abandoned that union. However, I play in corporate structure. I have businesses that I have business that are in the middle of being comprised as we speak. So I understand both worlds. And that's what a lot of people don't know how to do. They don't know how to relate to both worlds. And I think people over in this world that I'm speaking about look at the corporate world and they want to see something that they don't see. And I'll just use you as an example. People be wanting to see Stephen A. that says, I'm from Queens. They want to see Stephen A. from Queens sometimes. But sometimes they just may see too much of corporate Stephen A. and they feel like you may be disconnected. So it's a very thin line between being from the streets, relating to the streets, reaching back. And I'm not even talking about reaching back financially. Sometimes the streets just want to be relating to. They just want people to understand them. So when you say, I'm from Queens, but they never see. Like, I don't call you Stephen A. I call you Essay.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes they want to see Essay. They don't want to see, if you from Queens, I show us you from Queens. Act like you from Queens sometimes.
Yeah, but wait a minute. But you use the word sometimes.
Not at the wrong time. Don't act like you from Queens when you can go to jail.
I feel you.
When they can put you in jail.
Oh yeah, but tell her like it is though. The fact of the matter is, you got to take first take. You take this podcast. I do this podcast 3 times a week. I do first take 5 days a week. I'm on the air 2 hours a day. We debate 15 different topics, 75 different topics a week, over 3,000 takes a year. Okay, the vast majority of the time, I'm always that dude. Now, obviously, you got to dabble in corporate America. You got to communicate with that lingo. You got to make sure you're being heard, not just listened to. And the fact of the matter is, I've graduated to a point where I know how to communicate to whomever I need to communicate to, when I need to communicate them, about what message I need them to receive. And so sometimes they sit up there and they say, so how many times, and this is the last point, how many times have you talked to me and you was like, yo, man, they saying this about you? And I was like this. Well, I've done about 75 takes. They complaining about 3. What the hell you want me to do? And you'd be like, that's a good damn point, Essay. It's a good damn point.
You're not perfect.
I said, you got to like every take? That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And by the way, all of us, as black people in this country, put us in a room together. It's rare that we all agree. So what's new?
Well, you're not supposed to agree with everybody all the time anyway. That's no fun.
That's right.
I mean, as positive as I am on my platform, and as many lives as I've touched and changed and enhanced, everybody don't agree with me. And I'm okay with that, because you learn within disagreements. There's learning lessons if you can remove the emotions, Joe. So I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I know you on a personal level. I know you mean no harm. I know the conversations that we have, and we living in the age of the internet. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody feels like they want to see what they want to see, when they want to see it, every time they want to see it, every time and how they want to see it. And it's just not gonna happen. I just like to share with you what comes to me behind the scenes, because I've been known as the VOTP, the voice of the people. And so sometimes I have to bring it to the forefront and let you know what's being said, in the back sectors. You dig?
And half the time, I'm like, yo, man, I appreciate you. And half the time, I'm like, I don't give a shit, Shabazz. This is where I stand.
No, you really, hey, listen.
They do what they want.
Let me say this to your credit. So people just don't get it twisted. Him and I don't always agree. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and he'll listen. And sometimes he'll pause and he'll say, Shabazz, you're my man, and I love you. But I just don't give a damn. I just don't give a damn. And when he say that, hey, so all right, what we eating at tonight? There ain't nothing else to say after that.
I got you, man. I got to get on out of here, man. Love you, appreciate you, bro. I know you right across the way and whatever. We getting up for dinner later, bro. I'll holler at you.
All right, say that.
My boy Shabazz, that's my man right there. That's my man. He right. I do say that. Maybe I need to be better about that. Maybe I need to be better about saying I don't give a shit. I don't give a damn. Maybe I just need to be kinder in my delivery and my presentation about not giving a damn. Maybe that's the way to go.